AskReddit by RealHDNA. What screams this person peaked in high school to you? Hey girl, hey. Do you wanna be your own boss babe while working from home and it's just a pyramid scheme? I never associated pyramid scheme people with having peaked in high school before, but it makes total sense. Totally explains the girl I know who has gone through probably a solid dozen MLMs in the last few years, and still acts like a teenager. I had a conversation in a bar with a drinking buddy years ago. The guy kept going on about the one that got away, how perfect she was in their chemistry together, how natural it was, how he hasn't felt that way about any girl since, yada yada. He was feeling pretty sorry for himself and uninterested in meeting anyone else because they could never compare. When I asked how long ago it was that she moved away, he said 8th grade, LMFAO. Oh, that's awful. I graduated in 05. I was sitting at a tire shop waiting for my truck to get done and an employee slightly older than me walks up to me and asks me, with no previous interaction, if I played football in high school. Wondering where this was going, I responded that I did, but I wasn't great at it. He asked what school I went to, and I told him. Then he starts talking about himself. How he was all confidence and walking me through all of his high school accolades. I never asked for this conversation. I just sat there wondering why this nearly 40-year-old, wildly out of shape, tire shop supervisor was telling me all of this. Then just as soon as it started he bid me good day and walked off. It was bizarre. The best comparison I could make was that he was like the manager Dan from the movie Waiting. That was his vibe. That's how I knew he peaked in high school. How do you know if someone peaked in high school? Don't worry, they'll tell you. Still acting like a typical mean girl when they're damn near, or past, 30. They just graduate from mean girl to mean woman. I think some people are just mean. Bragging about high school hookups in their 30s. Deleted. My ex-stepmother constantly bragged about being a cheerleader in high school and winning a beauty walk, in a town of like 500 people. She was still bragging about these the last time I saw her. She was in her mid-40s. Miss Baltimore Crabs. One guy I knew literally got our school emblem and mascot in a huge class of 2010 tattooed on his shoulder. Did he graduate on time? Regularly reposting the same picture of the one notable moment that they had in high school. You wanna watch me throw a football over those mountains? Anyone who bullies other adults as if they were still in high school. Or people who used to beat up others and call it the good old days. Ridiculing the hobbies of others to make yourself look good. This. People cared way too much and this will make or break our decision to like or dislike you over choice of hobby when I was younger and my peers were also elementary, middle, high school aged along with me or whatever. Like if I chose to be into Pokemon or Magic, some other clique I already didn't care about freaked out about it toward me while I just went okay, I'm going to go have fun with my friends. As an adult I realize no one cares that deep and people just freely enjoy whatever they choose. These are the best years of your life on repeat. Almost 10 years after high school a guy asked me if one of my friends was popular in high school. Was he? The people that ask you to join those MLM schemes selling body wraps or the like. Anyone that has a Salt Life decal on their car when they live nowhere near the ocean or even a salt mine. Or even a salt mine, ha. I like that. Never even considered that to be an option. Edit, misquoted, took out near. Still going to every high school football game and sitting in the student section. Living their dreams through their kids. We have a lot of that in my town. Trying to redo it all again. It is a lot. It makes me roll my eyes a lot. My kids enjoyed high school. It was fun watching them dance, do band and play football. But I was not invested in it as if it was happening to me. I wanted it for them, good things. But if it didn't, I prepared them for that too. When my son's team lost the state championship game his senior year after the team winning the 5 years before and 3 years after, I watched a guy go off on his kid because it was his job to win it. WTAH. My son was devastated. But he still had amazing things to come and has went on to do amazing things. Yeah, he looks back and hates their loss, but it was a teaching moment. When the former high school bully you beat in a karate tournament with an illegal face kick shows up at your business and all your employees know exactly who he is. And you help train a bunch of kids in karate to beat his students, leading to massive violent clashes that injure and damn near paralyze people. Undeterred, you continue because that rivalry is really all you have going for you, despite having a seriously fucking hot wife, successful business, and decent life. Talking about high school in every conversation and gossips like a high schooler. They keep insisting for the next 30 years that they would have taken state if coach would have put them in the game. The man scored 4 touchdowns in one game at Polk High. I used to work with a guy, we used to call him Roid Rage. He was very muscular, very masculine, and let everybody know both those things about him constantly. One day I'm sitting next to him in the break room and he's talking to me, unprompted as always, about how he went to attend an award ceremony for his son who won something regarding his football performance. I said, well, that was nice of you to go and support him. Nice, he said. It was fucking sad, man. That used to be me. Now I'm the old guy in the room who has to watch someone else win something I should have had and all I could think was, what a loser. You can't just be happy your son won this award and be proud of him. You have to make it about you. That's a really depressing mindset to have, especially with your own child. In my experience, it's the people that talk about things that happen in HS as if it were yesterday. Constantly. I had an ex who would always tell me crazy stories. I'd ask, when did this happen? She would say sophomore year and we were mid-20s. Over time, it became clear that HS was the best years of her life and most likely will continue to be, as she didn't have much ambition after HS. I had one good year in HS and reminisce about it every now and then, but it is not on the forefront of my mind. Most of my time in school is a big foggy coalescence of unpleasant emotions and the occasional embarrassing memory that springs up as I'm trying to fall asleep. I know a guy pushing 40 that still wears his varsity letterman jacket. Constantly talking about their high school sport experiences. Buddy, you're 32. Nobody gives a flying fuck that you lettered in lacrosse and basketball. When you're 50 years old and you still talk about all the parties you went to in high school. That is my father. Context is very important. I'm happy to walk down memory lane with the right group of people. There's some good stories in there. But you gotta be careful. Taking rec league softball way too seriously. I played college hockey, haven't played in 10 years. Played a men's league game the other day and a 40-year-old tried to drop the gloves with me and all I could do was laugh. They want to organize high school reunions every 5 years. And say bad things on social media about people who can't or won't come. Sorry, but it was a 6-hour drive and I haven't spoken to anyone from high school in over 20 years. Under college university in their Facebook profile, it says School of Hard Knocks. Presidency at None of Your Business Incorporated. It doesn't get better once you grow up. I told a subteacher at my school that people told me this all the time and she told me the only people that say that are the ones that peaked in high school. I miss her every day. One of my high school teachers explained it like this: don't let anyone tell you that these are the best years of your life. It's a lie. Your high school years actually suck. If you go to college, you'll make friends with people based on shared values, not because you've been in the same school since grade 1. You'll have more fulfilling relationships, more freedom, and as the years go by, more discretionary income. And just when you think it can't get any better, your children grow up, move out of the house, and leave you with the freedom and time and money to do damn near anything you want. But you'll never be this thin or pretty again. So enjoy that. Any amount of participation in a MLM scheme. This is so sad. I remember when I was active duty military and nearly every one of my buddies' wives were in some sort of MLM, and I just deduced they were either in a shitload of debt, as, at our rank at the time, we make a decent wage, or the wives were just extremely bored because they're all Sams or housewives and have nothing to do while husband is deployed training tad etc. This is a weird thread, because I've grown a lot as a person since high school, but life has been unkind to me since then. I look at high school and realize that life was the most stable and kind to me back then. I think the difference is that peaking in school denotes not moving on and living in the past, while school being the best, most stable time of your life is more about the drawbacks of responsibility, not the rejection of them. My sister is one of these. Most frustrating are these moments. Oh, you were never good in math. Me, I have a degree in robotics, a very math heavy subject. Oh, well, I took a high school math class that earned me college credit, so that is better than what you have. Me, you are comparing one high school class against an entire college degree. Oh, I earned college credit. Me, maybe, at most, 3 hours. And you would have to find a school that would accept those hours, and you graduated over 20 years ago. What you have is pointless. My only criticism is you haven't built a robot which can stop her. But all he kept talking about was glory days. Well, they'll pass you by. Glory days in the wink of a young girl's eye. Glory days, glory days. I literally went to HS with people who wound up like the people in this song. They tattooed their last name across their shoulders. Guy I knew from HS had his own first name tattooed huge down his arm, and he would come to the pool where I was a lifeguard and stand just in my peripheral vision, flex his biceps, and I refused to glance in his direction, and he was fucking furious about it. I was on a team with his sister and he apparently complained to his sister about how big a bitch I was for not acknowledging his flexing. I had a teacher who said these are the best years of your lives. Since I graduated in 2003, every single year has been better than every year of school since I can really remember. High school was fucking awful and seriously depressing. I had to work as a janitor through grades 11 and 12 to pay rent. I dropped out with one class left to get a union construction job. I'm back in university now doing an engineering degree because I have worked to get my life in a position where this is possible. I'm married to a man I met in high school, and I can tell from people's reactions when I say that some people assume that means we peaked in high school. But those reactions are split 50/50 with people who think it's super sweet, adorable, like a fairy tale, etc. It's always funny to tell someone new about it and see which side of the line they'll land on. For the record, in high school I was painfully socially awkward and being abused by a person I thought was my best friend. And my husband was constantly on the verge of failing out because he didn't find schoolwork interesting, challenging. But now he's got a great career and a lot of very engaging hobbies. Those were absolutely not the best years of our lives. In fact, the only reason I remember high school fondly is that it's where I met him. It is super sweet and rare when you find kids capable of long-lasting love. It's what I wished for and probably what most people secretly wish for, but I'm glad I didn't end up with my first love. Congrats on your beautiful relationship. Constantly posting throwbacks and their senior pictures. Sharing FB memories consistently, or putting Snapchat memories of high school on their story. You continue to brag how you scored 4 touchdowns in a single game while playing for your high school team over 20 years later. and now you sell shoes. But in his next life, he is a closet magnet with a hot second wife. Talking about your IQ and advanced placement classes when did nothing afterwards. Like being 48 and talking about honors English. That was a minute ago, friend. Believe it or not, some of the kids in my high school's gifted and talented program had a clique and thought they were better than everyone else. I have this memory of going to visit a friend of mine in the G&T homeroom during lunch. We could eat lunch in classrooms if teachers permitted it, and asking what board game they were playing. This one guy doesn't even turn around to look at me and says, "You wouldn't understand." Now I don't look down on any job in the economy, as I feel everyone's time and roles are valuable. But if I'm being honest, it gives me satisfaction that I worked hard to become an economist while some of these kids from the gifted clique never applied themselves and now have very mediocre jobs that they probably would have looked down on 15 years ago. I scream that to me every day when looking in the mirror. I talk about when I was in wrestling for high school from time to time. For me it was the only positive moment in high school. My best friend, since we were 4YO, and I were on the team and training partners. We had a blast and took nothing too serious. Just the pure joy of beating the crap out of one another in practice and still being friends after it was over. He died when he was 24. It's been almost 7 years without him. My world is different without him in it, and talking about those days keeps him alive. I didn't peak in high school. I wasn't popular. I never went to prom. Never even had a girlfriend, but those days are the few good memories I have left of him. Before he died, he was in a downward spiral and I refuse to remember him that way. That's not who he was. I feel for you. That's a terrible loss. I'm glad you had that good of a friend and can remember the good parts. If they are in their 30s, 40s and they wear their leather jacket outside of things like high school reunions where it's only barely appropriate. They still brag about their high school GPA or any accomplishment they made in high school. They wear their HS class ring outside of things like high school reunions. High school could have been fun. It's fine to reminisce, like how at my HS they made a random freshman swallow a goldfish whole as a school sanctioned event, but if it defines you still, you peaked in HS. I bring up my cumulative .71 high school GPA. I'm worried that's not even a peak. What I have learned from this thread is that Americans care a lot about high school and it seems to be a big part of culture there. I'm 30 and I can't even really remember anything about high school at all. It's one of the few life stages in which we are encouraged and enabled to have a sense of community. Gets a standing ovation at HS football games. Pays for waterbed in cash. Fully loaded 2011 Ford Taurus. Corner apartment with fountain view. No waiting at Buffo Brady's. Edit, and is still peaking. They kept hanging out with high schoolers years after we graduated. They serve a very valuable role. Buying booze. Had guy probably in his early 20s show up for band class every day. There would be lawsuits for allowing this nowadays. I grew up in a super small town, so this might not apply to others. But if I had a Venn diagram of peaked in high school and never left the hometown, it could almost be one circle. When they call themselves a retired mean girl. When they live through their kids. When they believe that teachers have something against their kid because their kid gets in trouble. People who kept their full uniform for the purpose of just keeping it. People who made fun of what other people were wearing to prom, or the girls that told other girls to change because they brought the same colored dress. A girl my siblings and I went to HS with has put on her cheerleading uniform too many times and posted on FB to show that it still fits. It's pretty pathetic. We're in our late 30s, early 40s. Very active on FB and keeping up with their old classmates. Deleted. Or they talk about some crazy thing that happened to them as if it's a normal conversation. And when you say wow what a weekend you had and they admit this happens during the summer between sophomore and senior year. Cheer moms. I find cheer for young girls incredibly creepy because I don't want to see your 8-year-old in a tiny skirt, a face full of makeup and big hair. I think being on the squad in high school is fine because it's an extracurricular. The whole cheer mom clique screams high school to me and I'm glad my daughter isn't interested. I'm an alpha male.